Allison. Welcome to my office. I know we talked a little bit earlier this week, but I know that you didn't really share, what was going on, what brought you to counseling. So would you mind telling me a little bit?
Well, I'm going through a divorce, and I'm just really stressed out, and I know I need to talk to somebody, and I can't really do that. I can't really do that in my job. I have to act like everything's okay. That's why I'm here.
Okay, so what's been going on with your divorce?
Well, he drinks. He wasn't drinking for a long time, and then it started up again, and I don't know. He's tried to get recovery, and I was going along and trying to go to meetings and deal with codependent things, which I thought I dealt with, but this has happened to me before. I'm right back where I started. I ended up with an alcoholic, and I can't believe I did it again, and I want to stop. I want to stop doing this.
Okay, so you mentioned going to meetings. What type of meetings do you find helpful?
I actually ended up, I started going to Al-Anon meetings.
Okay. So do you have any sort of insight? You mentioned, repeating behaviors of seeing individuals that struggle with alcoholism.
Right.
So do you have any insight into why you feel like you often are attracted to those?
I do, and that's what makes this worse, I think, is because I know this stuff. My dad had issues, and he's sober right now, but he often isn't. And so I suppose I'm doing the same pattern I did, growing up. A man is in my life that I love them, and somehow, I don't know, I seem to attract men like this, and it must be because of my dad and my experience, I'm sure.
Okay, and do you have a relationship with your mom?
I do. I have a relationship with my mom. She's a really nice person. It's hard to get too deep with her about these things. So when I try to talk to her about something that we've actually shared, dealing with my dad and his issues, I don't really get too far. There's a lot of change of topic, and I think she likes to keep things on the surface, and I think that works for her, and I wish it worked for me, but it doesn't work that way. I need to talk about this, especially now that I've done this again.
Okay. So would you say that it's true that you feel like something needs to change within yourself to kind of move forward?
Yes, I wouldn't have said that before. I thought everything was, great, and it was his problem, but this has happened too many times. I need to do something different. I need to work at making changes. I don't know what they are, but something's got to be different.
Okay. So what would the change look like? What would make you feel better in your current situation? What would make you feel less stressed? Because you've mentioned a few different struggles. You've mentioned alcoholism in your family growing up, and some struggles with communicating with your mom, and then also the current divorce. So are there changes that would help you kind of move forward?
Well, I think right now the biggest thing my husband, soon to be ex-husband, he's a nice guy, and I love him, and it's like I keep trying to put it back together with him and talk to him. So I guess a change right now would be distance and space from him, so they don't keep engaging with him in his process, because I keep focusing more on him and is he sober and how's he doing that, than me and how I'm taking care of myself. And so that leads to, I guess, another change would be taking better care of myself. I'm doing a terrible job of that.
Okay, so you mentioned distancing and taking better care of yourself, so two changes. What would those look like to you, the distance? Are you living with your current husband?
We're in and out of this. He's in and out of the house. He's got his own place, but but he's still coming over, and we're still, you know, from the outside, probably looking like we're still together, even though we're divorcing. It's not final. So I guess, so that would be one, is that we stop doing that. He shouldn't be coming over. He shouldn't be, you know, maybe sometimes spending the night. And that would be that. And then taking care of myself. I don't know. I feel like I should be working out more, and I should be eating better. You know, I'm either eating things I shouldn't eat or not eating at all. I'm not thinking about that, how that affects me, and it probably doesn't help my depression.
Have you struggled with depression in the past, or just with your current situation?
I think my current situation, but I've landed in these situations before, and so I get depressed when it happens, because I get all wrapped up in that, and then I don't do things that do make me happy, and I feel trapped, and I don't know what to do to make myself happy, I guess.
Okay, so this is a familiar feeling. This is something you've felt before.
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay. Did you feel that way in your childhood as well, feeling trapped?
Yes. I mean, when I was younger, I felt like, you know, when my dad was doing well, you know, it felt like it was happy and it was light, and then things weren't going well, and you're a kid, and I wanted things to be okay, and it was out of my control, and then the spin would start again where it looked the same, and, you know, my mom was, of course, unhappy, and the household felt heavy, and yes, it feels like that again. It's familiar, unfortunately, that I just can't believe I keep doing it.
So can you remember a time when you didn't feel like you were kind of on that roller coaster with addictions and other people's behaviors, where, you know, they experience their ups and downs, and with that you follow with your ups and downs?
You know, I think college, you know, I was single for most of my time in college, and I think I was thinking about myself mostly, you know, getting my degree and thinking about becoming a teacher, and what was, you know, how was I going to make that happen? And so I think the focus was probably on myself during that time period, and not on a relationship, certainly not looking for one. I seem to find those anyway when I'm not looking, but yeah, that was a while ago too, but yeah, college.
Okay. So can you think of any other, you mentioned focusing on yourself when you were in college. Can you remember specific things that you did at that time that also helped you feel better? And
yeah, well, I was definitely working out. You know, I danced in college, and so I was in a dance program, and I was with a lot of friends, females and males, and we were just you know, did a lot of different things. You had to, I don't know, goofy things, like you had music appreciation, and so you go to concerts together. So I think it was light. I think it felt light, and I just wasn't wrapped up in the viewpoint of one person.
So what began to change after college? Was it getting into a relationship?
Well, I managed to find myself an alcoholic, and in a way I've done that I've been married a few times. That also, I even hate admitting that to people. I've been married a few times. I've been married 3 times, and that was my first marriage. I married an alcoholic, and I thought it was an accident that I married an alcoholic. Yeah. So
what do you mean by an accident? Do you feel like you have something to do with choosing alcoholics?
Yeah, at the time, probably back then, I felt like I just happened to meet an alcoholic, and then, you know, as I've gone through, you know, these years, it's just too many coincidences, even for someone that, you know, I'm denying that I, you know, have issues around my father, and So after I've, managed to snag a few alcoholics in my marriages, I have to look at that and go, okay, well, that's a little bit too coincidental. Yes, I have not dealt with my codependency issues, and it feels familiar, like you said, it feels familiar. So unfortunately, warning lights don't go off for me, and maybe whatever normal is, normal people, maybe they do, and they head the other direction. I don't. I head toward it.
It seems like you may have some negative self-talk going on too. Would you say that that's correct, that you have a tendency to be really hard on yourself?
I do. I blame myself. It's almost like I take some of the information that some of the, I don't know, self-realization, and then I turn it against myself. It's a pattern, ergo, it's my fault. Look what I did to myself again, and I really don't know how to navigate that.
Is there a way, like how you mentioned, look at what I did again, and those types of feelings, those are such negative, ways to think about something. Is there a way that you could kind of reframe what your internal thought is, as far as, I can't believe that I am in this relationship again. I can't believe I'm in this situation. Is there a positive way to kind of spin that statement?
I don't know. It's the last time I'm going to do it. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can help me with that. I'm not very successful. I'm sure intellectually I could come up with it.
Instead of thinking, I can't believe that I did this again, and how could I have gotten into, this situation? I think you mentioned this was your third or fourth time with experiencing a similar situation. So instead of stating, how could I have done this, it's more like, I'm experiencing what's going on, and it's not that easy, but I can, I have the ability to learn from this. And, obviously you have the strength to come into counseling, and you obviously are looking for some sort of change, and you have a motivation to change by doing that. So it's kind of just reframing some of those thoughts, and sometimes it can seem subtle, but it can make a big difference, when you're daily, if you kind of track, and this might be a good kind of assignment for you to take home too, where you can track, the different thoughts that come in each day, and experiencing, if you have a negative thought coming in, and kind of recognize what the trigger was for that thought. So say you get, a phone call or something about the divorce, and then maybe a negative thought occurs, then you can recognize what the trigger was and kind of work on reframing that thought to be more positive. Does that seem like something that might help a little bit?
It does, and I'm sure I'm going to need a lot of practice, but and how you just said, about the phone call and all that, because I think that, that's definitely something that I feel like when someone asks me to, like my husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, asked me, can he come over? Can we get together? I immediately respond to that, and then without much thought process, I don't think it's, the he needs me thing. It's going to be different, and but you're right. I mean, and probably shortly followed by feeling like I'm, an idiot for falling for the same thing again. And I need to, that's a really good point. I need to stop doing that. I even kid around, when I make comments in front of people about, because I feel, I guess, almost shame about the marriages and all that stuff. And so I make comments about, oh yeah, what an idiot, and that sounds like that's
trying to make light kind of the situation, but while you're doing that, it might be adding more and more burden on your shoulders, because then you're just kind of building that negative self-talk. So
believing it. Really believing that I'm a big problem. Me, not just behavior, but me.
Right.
Yeah.
Time.